Well, everybody, for a fourth week in a row, we've got a Last of Us episode. We're on time this week. We learnt our lesson last week that we should be watching these episodes on time because they're just so very good. Any videos in the works of the main channel, Nicky Moltisanti is interrupting our intro here. How dare he? Well, we can talk about that after the stream portion of The Last of Us is going on. I imagine we will probably only be talking about that afterwards. And if you're watching this on YouTube later, you can go back and watch the stream VOD if you want to know the answers to Nicky Moltisanti's questions here. Maybe we'll talk about The Sopranos for the whole rest of the stream. When you enjoy that, another HBO television program. Heath's also interrupting the intro. Fuck it, I guess. I mean, apart from some relationship building with Ellie and Joel, the entire episode felt like setup for the next episode. Well, we'll see about that. It definitely is our first sort of I guess the first two episodes are kind of two-parters, but yes. So this week, we're away from Bill and Frank, and we journey into... I always think it's the Boston section, but that's the beginning of the game. The Sam and Henry stuff, we're in that city. I forget which... Is it Kansas City? Because they say that a bunch of times in the episode. It might be. Obviously, we meet Sam and Henry at the very end of the episode. It was cute when they were name-dropping Henry in the beginning, and I was like, oh, I know that bloke. But yes, we also got to introduce to, I think, the biggest new character that's going to be in the entire first season, because they were advertising her months and months back. Oh my god, I already forgot her name. But the woman on screen now. An interesting portrayal. I think we'll talk about that a little bit later. But obviously, have they said the word hunters in the entire show? I think we're just retconning that, and thank God for that, because it's so stupid that every gang across the entire country are all called hunters. And they all look the same and have the same models. The limitations of the first Last of Us, you know? Whereas the second game does such a great job at fleshing out all of the enemy characters in all of them. Even the slavers at the end, who are probably more evil than most of the hunters we meet, who are kind of laughably evil in the first game. Yeah, even though the slavers are probably worse than them, because they're literal slavers. But yeah, at least they get fleshed out a little bit, and we understand them, and we see their little place of business and everything that's going on. Last of Us 2 better, who knew? But yeah, so I do like the fleshing out of this generic group of hunters. They got a lot more people, it seems, and more than one armored vehicle, so how interesting. I guess, where do we start? I do feel like there's only a bunch of little things to say. I said this in episode 2, but the scenes of them dicking around are still my favorite scenes. But they were always going to be my favorite scenes. Not just because it's Last of Us, Joel and Ellie stuff, but because generally in most things, I like when the characters are just dicking around more than this nonsense plot shit. Go figure. But yes, them camping at the beginning, them just driving around. It recurs. The biggest issue with the show, recurringly, seems to be, for me at least, every time they try and do exact dialogue from the game. What it's supposed to be is it's supposed to be fan service, and when I hear it, I'm supposed to soy the fuck out. Now, there was a bit of fan service in this episode that did make me soy the fuck out, and that's when Tommy showed up and he was speaking. I immediately recognized the voice. I pressed pause. I tabbed over. Last of Us Tommy voice actor. Found the name. The images didn't look like the dude in the show. Then I copied and pasted the name into the dude, and sure enough, it was him. He just grew his beard out and looks a little older nowadays. But Tommy is her number one henchman over here. Tommy from the game, that is. So that was a big sway out. Oh, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. Remember the video game moment. I guess this all just means that I still like the games a lot more. But my goodness, what a voice that Tommy fella has. I forget what his actual name is in the show. But I didn't know Tommy was going to be in the show. Obviously, they've publicized pretty heavily that Ashley Johnson and Troy Baker are going to be in the show. And Marlene obviously is in the show as Marlene. I think I saw in that Preston video that her actual name is also Marlene. Hold on, let's Google this. I feel like I had this realization one time. Marlene, The Last of Us actress. Easy for me to type. No, it's Merle or something. This Preston prick, always lying. Lying about theories, lying about actresses and actors' names. Disgusting. Despicable. Yes, I did watch that video chat. Really the only person I've watched talk about it. Well, no, we've watched some of those video essays. We watched most of them on stream, but most of them have been short and very complimentary. Where are we up to? Oh, we were talking about when they do dialogue line by line and me not liking it. Because it's supposed to be a meme fan service moment where I'm supposed to freak the fuck out and be like, this is so cool. But maybe it's just because I know the scene so well. It just feels like a bad version of them. It just feels like the acting is off and the inflections are slightly off and the meanings are slightly different, which nothing about that is inherently bad. But when I know the scene so well, I'm like, ugh. Like, they did, and we actually talked about this last time and how they probably weren't going to do the cum joke Lamau, but they actually did do it. And then I was initially mad because I was like, oh, they didn't even do the best part of that scene, which is when Ellie says that she's not tired. And then, like, we cut to, like, 5 minutes later and she's asleep. But then they did that later when they were in the car again later. So I forgive them for that. But the point of that scene in the game is almost that in some ways Ellie can seem really adult, where she's making cum jokes, but she's also, like, the most generic of kids, where she'll literally do the 5-year-old thing of being, I'm not tired, and then they're asleep 5 minutes later. It's a very cute little juxtaposition thing. And the show has that. And it has it with the... They really highlight that this episode with more of the gruesome things she does. She shoots that one dude, paralyzes him. There's an implication that she's killed. I don't know if the implication is what she did to the zombie is what she's talking about, or if she's talking about how she had to kill Riley when Riley attacked her, or if there's a whole different backstory where she killed an actual person too. So that's interesting. They're implying some things with Ellie's backstory there. But they've got all that, and then they juxtapose it with the joke book stuff, which is introduced, which is one of those Ellie things that they really hadn't done. I don't know if we've ever seen the book before. Yeah, but that was all introduced this episode, and obviously it pays off towards the end of the episode, which is what you think is the last scene, but then Sam and Henry show up. But yeah, when they do scenes line by line, it's not... I just don't like it. And they did it quite a bit in this episode. They had the car scene. They did play the song. At the end of the last episode, they found a cassette and they started playing in the car. I'm like, oh, they're not going to use the song they used in the trailer and from the original game as they're going through this part of the game, but they did play it a little bit earlier. I don't remember if it was playing as they actually did the ambush. Even the ambush stuff, which was line by line dialogue as well. Again, it wasn't as cool. He ain't even hurt. Then he steps on the pedal. And said Pedro Pascal's not being as inflective. But yeah. I would say the same sort of gripes. I feel like everything is just continued. So if you like the show, you'll be liking it more. And I do like the show. But like... I feel like this might have been Bella Ramsey's worst episode. Like... The joke stuff is corny, which is kind of the point, but I don't think it's corny in the game. I feel like the jokes are supposed to be corny, but the way Ashley Johnson delivers them isn't like, you're never cringing at it, and maybe we should make a distinction between what's corny and what's cringy. Whereas I felt like it was kind of cringy in the show. And it is endearing a little bit. It's not like cringe, I can't watch, I hate fucking Ellie in the show. But I don't know, there is a difference between how it's done in the game and the show, and it is better in the game, I think. And it maintains that sort of the childlike... Bella Ramsey does the brooding stuff pretty well, and she does the sassiness very well. I don't know if she does the childlike wonderment aspects as well, or the niceties as well as Ashley Johnson does. Also, they changed the gun stuff quite a bit, and I feel like it's more of an emotional moment in the game. Though the same beats are there. I feel like Joel in the game is also better at avoiding conversations where they have, like, Bella Ramsey, did you kill innocent people? And I remember in the game that Joel's like, he says like, yeah, or something, and then Ellie goes like, oh, and then they keep walking. It's sort of an awkward silence until like the next interactive piece of dialogue starts while you're just walking around. I feel like that's so much better than sort of them brooding on it so much. I feel like Joel was more stoic, I guess. a little bit more. Though I felt at times, in the game is what I was going to say, though I felt at times that Pedro Pascal was a little bit too stoic in how he's portraying Joel. So I guess in separate instances, and it leads to different effects. I'm complaining a lot, huh? Everything else is pretty fun. The woman on screen is very interesting. She has a very, like, feminine worry to her, which is interesting, especially as a leader, which is what she seems to be, I think. But she is kind of scary in that regard too, because it feels like she's about to cry at every moment, and it also, her voice is very soft. It's not like a Tess game voice where it's like, oh, it's like kind of rough, and I wouldn't even say masculine, but just rough and coarse or something. It sounds very fragile, which is, I do like, I'm not complaining here. I think this is a good piece of juxtaposition where it's like, oh, because it does feel like she can sort of go off the rails at any moment and be threatening and kill somebody, which she does with this doctor dude. That was a very neat scene of getting you invested in whatever that was immediately with him. I don't think I've ever thought about that. I think this might be a thing in Monster, huh? The hit anime manga series where it's sort of like a doctorial, is that a word? A doctorial, a doctor's regret or sort of responsibility type thing where he says like, oh, I birthed you, like I was there when you were born. What a surreal moment that would be psychologically if like you were there for the birth of this baby and you like held it, and then later it kills you like 30 years later or something. That's crazy. And I thought that was a neat little psychological conundrum to put a character in and to have me think about for a few minutes. That was neat. Now, the Henry stuff in the game, because Henry does have like a group, and then they showed up. I think they were trying to pass through the city, or they were from the city, and everybody else got killed, but he still had hope that if they got to the radio tower, some of them would still be alive. And then they sort of give up on that, but he still has hope because they're going to go with Ellie and Joel, but then obviously bite Lamau, kill yourself, Lamau. So, yeah, it is interesting. We're just sort of fleshing that out a bit. Seems like they just overthrew Fredra recently, and now they're having a lot of problems. And it seems like the revolutionary split in two and further conflict is brewing. I'm mildly interested in where this is all going. Is there much more to talk about? Oh, I guess we can talk about the credits song. Obviously, if you're a big-time stream fan, I play intro songs at the beginning, and I've played Truth Faith a lot of times. And since I watched the episode and Googling around a little bit, I had no idea that Truth Faith wasn't an original The Last of Us Part 2 song. I had no idea there was a controversy that the Ellie version in the game, that's also a cover of the original song that's apparently some 80s band, Lamau. I listened to it, thought it was terrible, shit version. Ellie's is the only good version. Even the credits version isn't as good as Ellie's version. But, so it's by New Order or something. It's called True Faith. Then there was a cover at some point, an acoustic cover by a girl. I forget her name. And then, apparently the song was used in a trailer, but I don't remember it from a trailer. I don't really remember it from the game at all. But I remember listening to it a lot after I finished the game because I found it on YouTube, which is the Ashley Johnson, who plays Ellie in the games version of it, that I listen to all the time. It's fucking sick. I have it on my phone. It's great. It's fucking sick. I play it as an intro song for stream all the time. So when the instrument started at the beginning of the credits, that was another soy boy freak out moment. I'm like, oh my god, Ashley Johnson's in this episode too. And this other girl started singing. But apparently there was some controversy that the Ashley Johnson version was too close to the version that they used in the episode. And initially on Twitter, that artist was very mad. But then they sorted it out or something. And a few hours later, she had tweeted that, oh, it's such an honor to have my art wasn't stolen, to have something be covered or whatever. And obviously they further smoothed things out because now she's in The Last of Us and got a fucking royalties check. So she's happy about some things. But apparently there was some controversy with this song. I thought it was a fucking video game original. But nope, it's a cover of 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 an original 80s song. Crazy. But that was another soy boy freak out fan service moment. Unlike the whenever they try to do the lines line by line. What other... I feel like there was another line-by-line thing in the episode. Hold on, I got fucking binge open in Fireflux. I can scroll through and remember some things to talk about. Oh, one of the really corny things is that they have run on, like, the tractor thingy that they have, like, the not hunters here, and I'm like, that's really corny and dumb, and I hate that. And they kept that from the game, so I was like, maybe we could have gotten rid of that. Is Sam and Henry going to die next episode? Because in that preview, we watched the preview before we started recording for YouTube. Obviously, there's something underneath the ground in that one scene with Tommy and the new girl. It's a bloater. They spoiled it in the preview. We have to get the bloater thing in somehow because we cut the bloater fight with Bill in the high school gym. So we got to get that in. That'll be interesting. But yeah, what were we saying before that? Oh, about the preview. It looks like we're getting to the ish stuff and the sewer community thingy with like the kids and that. Is his name Jeremy or is his name Kyle? I can't remember. It's one of the two who ends up having to shoot all the kids to prevent them from turning into zombies too. Crazy stuff. All the cool sewer stuff, boat stuff, on the beach stuff. And that seems to all be in the preview next time. So we're rushing through not rushing through, but we're going through this Henry and Sam stuff quick. Maybe they'll make it to episode 6 and die at the end of that. Or it's probably better to have them die like 3/4 of the way through and then catch up with them walking towards Tommy's. That's a cool part of the game, and I like that part visually. They have to go through the dam and turn the water off and on or whatever. Cool stuff. We open on Ellie practicing with a gun. I was like, is that moment going to happen? Seems like it. They're getting gas. They're going... All these cute moments at the beginning. There's not much to talk about, but I like them all. And I like them just hanging out and the survival aspect of it. It's cool. Then they get into the fight. Oh, one of the line things that was cool is one of the enemies after they do the crash. I think they say, "You're dead now, motherfuckers," or something. And that's like right from the game, because I remembered that. But because it's not like a super famous line, I'm like, well, you didn't say that line right, bro. So that was one of the soy lines that fan service lines that made me freak out. Though they didn't do the struggle over the jagged piece of glass, which I thought was a missed opportunity. That's kind of one of the most iconic things from that first game, at least combat-wise. And it's interesting that the dude that jumped Joel at the end didn't just have a 2x4. They haven't included the dudes that can't have guns enemy variety, sadly. No Molotov cocktail dudes either yet. But yes, that dude just had a shotgun, which was cute. Makes more sense for a show, I guess. You're going to have gameplay variety here. Oh, there was a moment where Ellie asked if she was family or something. And I was like, that's a little soon. And Joel said no, but it's like, why would Ellie think that she's family all of a sudden? Even next episode, after they laugh about runs in the genes or whatever at the end of the episode, like that probably would have been a better time to ask her than now. Like, they've been alone for not even an episode at that point, if we're not counting the full last episode. So that felt a little like we're trying to prep the audience for that eventual moment a little too soon, but whatever. I feel like that is mostly it, unless chat knows something that that I've missed that they want me to talk about. I'm looking at Tommy. They have to climb a bunch of stairs. That's cute. Joel's got a hurt leg. And then Sam and Henry at the end. Now, in the preview, I don't know if they're just communicating because they have to be quiet, or if they're going to make Henry's little brother, who is Sam, deaf. Because it has, like, subtitles, and he's doing, like, hand motions in the preview. Which could be interesting, I guess. I don't really care if they change that. Did you see that episode 5 is coming out on Friday? I had no idea. Why is that happening? Oh, is the Super Bowl or something on? That's on soon, isn't it? If I click back on binge, am I going to see this? That must have been a while ago comment, because it's already disappeared from screen. I wasn't paying attention to chat. Hurry up, binge, you fucking piece of shit. God, this fucking site sucks. I can't believe it doesn't even have an automatic thing. Even Stan has an automatic thing to get rid of the mouse if you're just being idle and watching something. Instead, I gotta move the mouse to the bottom corner and then you can still see it a little bit. Fucking terrible, this video player. Next episode, Saturday, 1 p.m. So it's probably Friday in the US, Heath. Get with it. You ain't American. But yes, it says Saturday, 1 p.m. And then I assume we won't get another one until next Monday. That means we only streamed twice last week, at least if Elite RE is to be believed. And we've been trying to stream at least 3 times a week in the new year. So we'll get 2 Last of Us streams this week. Yippee! That's 2 guaranteed streams. I never even heard of Binge before. House of the Dragon, it must be fairly new, eh? Well, it's just the Foxtel streaming service in Australia. And I don't think it's that new. But I had it before that because it has all of the HBO stuff on it. So, Lamau. But I think, what are we, like 20 minutes into this video? Maybe even less. But that's really all we got to say about this episode. It was only 45 minutes long. The second shortest one was 52 minutes long, and that was episode 2, and the other 2 were over an hour. I guess it makes sense if we're covering so much if next week's episode is also like an hour and 15 minutes or something crazy. But obviously on HBO you can do that shit, so. With that being said, better be back next week. For some interesting shit. Bloaters and the such. Henry and Sam and the such. The ish stuff. And boats and the such. And we'll see you then. So, support links in the description below. Thanks.